This is the Boom Podcast. The podcast that shows you how to build an amazing business so you can build an amazing life. The Boom Podcast starts now.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Things continue on. We move on. And we're having fun on season 4. Things are going well. I would say things are going well. Just a quick self-assessment. We're not halfway through. We're close to halfway-ish or so. It's time for an analysis of season 4.
Okay.
We have two options. I'm gonna give you two options. One, we continue on. We soldier on. 2, we bail now and get in a different career altogether.
Oh, well, boy. Is it tempting. Like what we want or what our listeners want?
Oh, that's fair.
You know,
that's fair.
Just,
I don't know. Maybe we do this and then we'll assess at the end.
Okay.
Just kind of wrap it up. Welcome to the big show, everybody. I am Terry. Across from me is producer Christian. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
We've got Todd to my left. Hi, Todd. We've got Megan to my right. We got a firm inhale from Todd. And Megan to my right. Let's hear a firm inhale. Oh, no, she went nasal on it.
Yeah, you're a little bit longer. That was
She
nice.
went a little nasal.
Do you guys ever do the breath test thing where, like, what is it? You got to blow out as much as you can, or you suck in as much as you can to see, like, how strong your lungs are?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not. Like,
I had
you
one
blow
of those.
into a thing?
Yeah.
Is it a breathalyzer? Are we talking about a breathalyzer?
Yeah.
I had one when I was.
Is this just a breathalyzer?
Todd was like, I've got this all mixed up.
Is that what the officer was doing?
They said
Yeah.
my lung capacity was 0.2, which is way over what it's supposed to be.
Strong
My
lungs.
lung
We're not
capacity.
happy. My
Strong.
lung
I'm gonna
capacity.
test your lung capacity.
He was really impressed with my lung capacity. I mean, he actually got me. He said,
Blow as
"Hey,
hard
jump
as
in
you
my
can,
car.
sir.
I want to introduce
I
you to
wanna
my
show you
show
off.
you off." Yeah.
I want to bring you into the office. You do it for
Show the
them.
boys. Come on in.
I had to sign, like, autograph a bunch of
Yeah, they
documents.
took pictures.
They did. They
Yeah,
did.
the
It's
whole
awesome.
thing. Yeah.
It's
Wow.
so cool.
That's
Wow.
funny. Maybe that's what it was. You know?
How long did you have to stay there?
Just overnight.
Like
I guess.
overnight?
They just
Yeah.
wanted to get some video recordings and stuff so that I guess I'm going to be a YouTube
Yeah.
sensation or something.
Wow, that's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, super excited.
Well, you would have been, but the next day they tested it again. It had gone down.
It did.
Yeah, you lost it.
You
You
lost
lost
lung
the
capacity.
have to
It's
figure
back to
out
point zero.
what gets you there.
0.0.
No, well, I had to loosen up, so I had some drinks before it, and
Right.
that I think like got me like all limber.
This is so dumb. This is so dumb. Oh, I love
But we
it.
can't give it up.
No, I know.
Keep
Are we
going.
getting ready to assess season 4 when we started?
Yeah, we'll see. No, I think we're ready to assess.
We're ready to
We're
assess.
ready.
Okay.
That didn't take
Drunk
long.
driving jokes are the best.
No, stop it. Oh goodness.
No, they are not.
Oh goodness.
I have
I
not
didn't-
ever had a DUI or an OUI.
You know what's funny about we told that whole thing,
IPAs,
and
that's another thing.
and I knew we were talking about intoxication, but only until you said drunk driving jokes. I was like, oh yeah, it is a drunk driving joke at the end of the day. All right, we'll cut that whole thing.
I mean, it could just be public intoxication. Let's go that way.
Let's go public intox.
Public intox.
Okay.
That's okay.
That's all it was.
That's
Yep.
okay.
You were just stumbling more around as you walked around the streets, and you got taken in. Okay.
The mean street.
Changing
Yes.
the topic. Megan, you look radiant in pink.
You know what? I never wear color.
Really? Look
Maybe
at
that's it.
No, black,
Maybe it's just
gray,
you.
No, it's your
navy
color.
denim.
Yeah.
And,
For our
thanks.
YouTube viewers.
It's a nice hue. It's a
Hi,
nice
Nice
guys.
hue. Looks
I
good.
look
It's very
nice
soft.
and pale. Yeah,
like it.
it's good.
Can we just say that you look radiant in a bright orange? Is that
No,
why
yeah.
you brought that up?
No.
So that we would
Orange?
comment on how.
No, I just thought it's...
I mean yellow. Sorry,
You do. You
Terry, you
Okay,
look
I was worried
radiant.
about
You
you
look
for a
radiant in
second.
navy blue.
I'm not good.
Christian brings
Not
the
good, of
color.
course.
He does a great
You wear a
job
lot of bright
bringing
colors.
the
I do.
color.
I do wear
Yeah, it's
bright
good.
colors. Yeah.
Is there a what's the thought process behind that?
Makes me happy.
There it is.
Oh, that's what I wanted to
Todd
share.
has something to talk about.
You- Fun fact?
I heard a fun fact today, and they're saying, like, you know, the top traits. You know, we've heard these top traits of successful people. We've shared those things. They were doing the top traits of happy people.
Yes.
And one of them, there was several, and one of them, which I think struck home the most,
Okay.
was happy people don't assume. They generally don't make assumptions because they've found out that when you're assuming, typically your assumptions lean on the negative side, which means that if you're always making assumptions like, oh, I hope this doesn't happen, or oh man, like you are just always going to be teetering in the negative world.
Yeah.
And so they said happy people don't assume. They're just like, I'll take it on when it comes.
Yeah, that's
What
good.
was
I liked it, and I thought that's a good life lesson. Because some of the other ones were like they don't hold a grudge. And I'm like, well, that's good, and you know, nobody should and stuff. But I feel like assumptions are something that is more daily life when we make these assumptions.
You
like,
worry about something that hasn't happened yet.
what's the weather?
And you don't even
yeah.
know if it's going to happen, but what if that happens? Well,
Yeah.
who cares?
Yup.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't worry
move
about
on.
it till it happens, man.
Yeah, man.
Are you-
Put on your bright yellow shirt.
That's right. You're pink.
and
Do you
just-
guys worry very much in general?
I
know,
feel like
like
I used to, but I don't as much. Just my kids. That's about all I worry about.
You worry about the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you worry about things, Todd?
Not very often.
Yeah.
Pretty
Christian,
cold.
do you
I
worry
worry
a lot?
about season 4 a lot.
That's a fair
we
worry.
hope so.
That's
We're
not
all
worry.
around
We're
that
halfway
now.
through.
That's
I'm worried.
that's
worried.
the now.
Yeah,
That's
is that the
happening
now?
now.
Okay.
It's happening now.
I think the last half we really need to get going.
It's
Yeah.
that's true.
What about you, Terry? Do you?
Off and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seasons of worry. Seasons where I've got it under control.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yep.
Good times. So let's talk about this is a good one. Let's talk about accountability and how we do virtual accountability.
Yes.
I think accountability is the thing that people need that nobody wants.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anytime I'm at a conference or I'm doing a course and we even in our talks talk about get an accountability partner, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Ugh.
I get that quick internal reaction, I don't want that.
Yep.
You know?
It's
But
true.
that's what we're talking
It's like
about
that
today.
discipline that you don't want to do, but you
Yes.
know it's so good. It's kind of like working out. Like you
It is
know
like
it's
working
good
out.
for you.
Yep.
I should really do this.
Yep. Waking up real early, all
Yes.
that, right?
And when you do, you crush it.
yes.
When you don't, you crave it.
But this may be
Oh, wow. Crush it or crave it.
you're excited about that one.
Crush it or crave it Wednesdays.
Crush it or crave it.
It's our accountability.
Megan is so fast on the domain names. It takes me forever. That's Megan's first impulse. I just got the domain.
That's right. Crush it or crave it Wednesdays. It's accountability.
Crush it.
Crush it or crave it.
That's going to be on your tombstone. It'll say meganhasdied.com.
Crush it or crave
On your
it.
I got
tombstone.
this in 2020.
I bought this. That's right. It'll be so good.
Long time ago.
I was so young, but I had the
That'd be
foresight.
interesting, like though, if you did put that on you, I bet it would become it would either nobody would notice, or it'd be like this cultural phenomenon where people are like, and it'd be this thing to go find out. And
Could you put the
you'd have
QR
to-
code on your tombstone
I
and people
once-
just go through the cemetery and click, and then you could see something about your life?
Yeah,
That'd
something
make
like that.
cemeteries
Well, you
kind of
could,
fun.
but it's kind of, I mean, it's got to be like
Cemeteries
did
are
you
never
hear
kinda
about
fun.
Did you hear about the guy? Maybe Christian was the one that told us about the guy
What?
that like found they found his treasure, like he had left clues or something like that on
that's
Colorado.
funny.
Were you the one to tell us?
I don't remember.
Some millionaire, like on purpose, went and just hid $1 million or something out in the Colorado Rockies somewhere.
Oh, wow.
And he left just a couple clues.
Yeah,
or
I
something
do.
like
Was that
that
a couple months ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so somebody finally found it, and they get the $1 million. Now the downside is, I guess somebody like died searching for it. So that's
no.
and I'm sure that was not a intended consequence of the whole thing.
Right.
But I was like, that's kind of cool. Like this sets, if you got the money, like make a game out of it. It'd
Yeah,
be kind
yeah.
of fun. Which, by the way, one time I drove by a billboard, and the billboard was something like lookmeup.com or like why did I buy a billboard.com, and then I was like, I kind of want to know.
Now I
and that
need
was
to
all
know.
that was
Yeah,
on it.
that's
Yeah.
pretty
And
good.
it was an insurance agent.
Well, it's a very,
Nicely done.
very
Yeah,
Todd thing to
that's
do to
right.
make a game as your final thing. Your final act in life.
For sure.
You're always making games.
I need, in case I die soon, I need to make this game happen. That would be so cool. A treasure hunt that ends up at my ashes.
Do you want to leave the podcast and you can go design
gotta
that
go?
now? I mean, if you need to go,
We can cover it.
Yeah, we'll cover it.
We're
Yeah,
probably
that's-
going to bail on season
that's-
4 pretty soon anyway.
I'm still worried about it.
As I continue to listen to our podcast, I think it maybe is the right
I
call.
love that, though. I'm going to start putting money aside for
Put
that.
it in your death plan, Todd.
Our inheritance is gone because there's
God
going to be
bless
the
America.
coolest like setup.
The
Like,
coolest game.
yes.
Did you call it a death plan?
I think he did.
mean
We
Will?
said we got to put in a death plan.
She meant Will. Or do you have a plan for dying?
Truth be told.
Not for like dying, but we have a document called the death plan on the computer
We
that
just
is like,
made
Do you really?
if we die,
We just
here
made
are our
it.
wishes. Because it's more of the details.
Oh, I
like,
see.
what do you
What
want
do
an
you
open
want at your
casket?
funeral and
do you
stuff?
want to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
cremated? You know, and so we just have a death plan. And
Yep.
Todd Todd fashion. He wants like a party and a Viking, like just things that he wants. So that's all in there. Now he wants a scavenger hunt.
Everybody's going to get to shoot an arrow. Now, because legally you can't put my dead body burning out in the middle of the lake. Because we're going to have like a fake body. And then you're going to float it out. And then we're going to have a bunch of arrows. And everybody's going to, it'll be a game.
Ashes.
Like who can hit it. Because, people don't know how to shoot arrows.
Who's going to run the game, though?
And well,
you'll be gone.
Well, executor of his will.
Hopefully,
He's also the game master.
I'd like to be alive still. Also the game master.
Megan's like, I'll still be here. That's true. You definitely will still be here.
She's right over me. Like she's obviously dead too. You probably took me down with you.
No, she'll be the game master. It'll be great.
Maybe your next husband can be the game master.
Todd is
Todd's replacement.
Your next husband. Whoever wins the Todd games gets Megan.
There'd be no pressure, but you're not allowed to have my funeral until you find my successor.
So back to accountability for season 4.
We were so close to getting into the topic, and then we took another. Here's what I think. I think what we're learning in season 4, as we're 11 minutes into this episode, is that the worst thing about our podcast is just the actual real estate helpful content.
Yeah, that's probably
we probably care about that part the least. But
sorry, listeners.
I think we might be. Maybe we should just ditch it and just make a podcast of us.
We spun off musicals with Terry this year.
I'm excited about Terry on musicals. That's really taken off.
Yeah, we got Death Plan with the Ferrises. Yeah, we got that.
Check deathplan.com.
Yeah,
that's got it.
That's got it.
Okay.
Check it anyway.
Well, you never know.
I'll check it.
Try it. Why not?
Check it.
What about Death Plan Ferris? Is that in there?
Oh, yeah.
Now, if that's taken, I'm a little bit.
I just looked up Todd and Megan's deathplan.com, and it's taken. Taken.
Then you GoDaddy to find out who owns it.
Yeah,
you gotta find out.
I did get Crush It or Crave It. Just a quick update.
thank God.
So that's good.
Crush it or crave it.
Done.
Now we have to create content around the domains we own, just because we had these ideas.
It's available for $25,000.
Deathplan.com is?
Deathplan.com is available $25,000 a year plus $18 a year for something.
Could we go
sure.
deathplan.gov?
How about .mil?
Like how many vacations?
.show?
.show? that's a little creepy. That's a little
actually, it's only $10. Okay, I'm just going to click out.
There's another minute and a half with no content. We're still not the content.
We're 12 minutes into the show.
12 and a half, but who's counting?
Megan,
this.
Intro of accountability. All right,
Okay,
off you go. That's the segue now. Because I don't trust.
She's still grabbing
Quick
domains.
transition.
Yeah, she's still. We'll wrap that up.
No, this is an easy transition. Let's just dive right into this.
So weird.
No, there's no way to do it.
There's
so I'm
no
just going to
way.
rip the Band-Aid. All right, here's the deal. Being virtual, there are some obstacles. This was one we talked about at the very beginning of the season, was finding a way to stay plugged in but stay accountable and disciplined. Okay,
Right.
But we've got answers, so it's great.
Oh, good.
But we're going to dive into how you can do that.
Unfortunately, we don't have time for the answers.
That's right. Should we wrap?
Next,
You can just hope on the next episode we get to it.
we will. We don't know. No promises. But yeah, as an agent, how in the world do you keep yourself accountable to your business? But like Terry said, it's one of the keys that we need the most to go to the next level. And then as a brokerage, how do you keep your staff accountable? How do you help encourage your agents to stay accountable on their own and with the brokerage? So that's what we're going to dive into. We have about 2 minutes to do it. Ready, go.
Go.
Lightning round episode.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Let's get right into it about the agent side, though. So again, Megan said we're going to talk about the agent, the staff, the brokerage, all the accountability associated with it. I'm going to start with the agent for you. So in terms of the agent, there's just something about when you're at an office, you feel like, okay, my manager's there, and I feel like I'm going to stop in and tell him what's going on, or she's going to check on me. There's this inherent accountability that you think is associated with it, which a good brokerage will offer that. But what you realize is that there's plenty of options for that, even if you're virtual. It's just that you have to be aware of it and make sure that it happens. So we're going to look at this from an internal perspective and an external perspective.
Okay.
Nice.
Meaning that you need to have some internal accountability agents. All right, this is true whether you're in an office, virtual, or whatever. You have to be accountable to yourself. All right, and some of this is you got to be trained on how to do it, and that's why you listen to podcasts like this, and your mentors help you with it. But things like posting your goals, rewarding yourself for reaching your goals. If you do those things, which we've talked about time and time again, posting your goals, the amount of people that are more successful when they do that versus when they don't do that, because there's just some kind of internal accountability. When I see on my mirror that I need to floss, which is one of the goals for the year.
Literally,
for me.
Yep.
Then I have some internal accountability. Like, I should do that.
Yeah.
All right. So you post those goals. You will be accountable to yourself. And if you reward yourself for it, though, then you can also enjoy those times. All right. So that's the internal accountability side. But what about the external accountability? That would be things like having coaching, whether it's individual or group coaching. So somebody that could hold you accountable to it. And keep in mind, too, like sometimes accountability partners, which those are going to be more like, hey, I want to do these things, make sure I'm doing them. Coaches, a lot of times, will do that for you. But then some people get mixed up, like managers, mentors. Sometimes they're just there to train you, but not really hold you accountable. So we're talking about the accountability side of things today. Make sure that you're aware of that. But again, you could have individual, you could have group coaching. Those people or your team, your brokerage might be doing challenges.
We do a lot of challenges.
We do a lot of challenges,
are,
yeah.
And you know what? Like every time we do them, we're like, we should do more challenges.
Yeah.
Because our team always loves them. Even people that aren't competitive like the gamification of some of these things.
Well, and if you think about the typical broker, most brokers are going to be somewhat competitive in nature because it's a sales business, and you got to go out and you got to beat all the other salespeople out there. And so there is something that you're just playing to their natural spirit of challenges and competition. But then there's also the side of if you mix up your challenges, you're going to, like, let's say you do an open house challenge here, and then over here you do a note card writing challenge or something like that.
Right.
You're going to hit some people that's their wheelhouse, and they get excited.
Yes,
and then you're going to, over here, you mix it up. So make sure you're mixing it up. Those can be individual, or we would highly suggest doing group challenges, because then there's accountability within the group. You don't want to let the other people down. So that's another beauty of that. And some of the examples that we have for you, like we do a lead gen challenge, which we actually call it the accountability challenge, but it's all based on lead gen efforts that you're doing. And we'd be happy to share that with you, by the way. So just reach out, hit us up at info@boomrealestatepodcast.com. We'll send you our accountability challenge that we do. But things like bingo, power hours, not the drinking version, but the one where you're like, we're going to spend 1 hour just being super highly focused on lead gen and see how much you can get done, or knocking out phone calls, whatever the case is.
Right.
But then lastly, check in on them, which basically when you have external accountability, if you have peers, mentors, friends, managers, coaches, whoever is helping you be accountable, it only works if they hold you accountable. So you need to check in on them. You need to make sure that they're doing what they said they're going to do, and it will help drive them one way or the other. They're either going to figure it out, or they're going to say this isn't working, and then they're going to modify and go a different direction, but only if they're being told they need to get it done and they're held accountable to that.
I'm thinking about these game things, and I'm wondering, especially with you, Todd, because you are super big on, like, you create games out of every single thing in the world, including
like, say,
your funeral.
firing
For example,
arrows at a burning body in the middle of the lake.
That's right.
A fake body.
For example, do you like regular games? Are you a big, like, you just love playing any and every game?
One of my favorite things growing up would we go to my grandparents' house. And my grandparents had a whole closet that you'd open up, and it's just shelves of games.
Yeah.
And we would, as grandkids, we'd always run to the shelves and we'd play the next game and next game. And so now at our house, we've got, now it's buried a little bit, we got to find a better way to get it out there, but we've got just a closet full of games. And then, and I'm the only one in the family that likes puzzles, and I love games.
Do you like games, Megan?
I love games.
You love to play games?
I love games. Yeah, I think that's one of our favorite gifts to get, or like, something new that we can, and it's such a good, like, you can all do it together, or you can do it just with a couple, so we love the games. It is funny when Todd gets a puzzle, though. I'll purposely give him a puzzle every once in a while, kind of like just to keep him busy, because I know once he gets it, it's
I'm gonna need like a week to myself. So
COVID came, quarantine, I was like puzzle, but he'll sit and finish the, like, it is for days until he gets it done.
Yeah.
It will sit. He will be there at that table. It's awesome.
I like them. I used to. You remember? So when I would travel and fly and stuff, a lot of people would read books or whatever. I would always do logic puzzles, like the magazine that you can buy at the kiosk or something like that. Yeah, I would grab that. And you do a bunch of Sudokus and different challenges.
It's the challenge, yes.
So Hugh Jackman, I heard him on a podcast talking about how much he loves puzzles, and he says that the Wentworth wooden puzzles are the most satisfying puzzles ever, because they kind of like lock into place. And he says when you put a piece and you find it, it's satisfying anyway to find a piece. But he said then there's like a tactile thing about it. So anyway, and he also suggests taking photos of like the family on vacation or just vacation spots you love and making those puzzles because there's companies that do that. He says when you put them together, you're like reliving the time there, kind of putting yourself back in that place. Hugh Jackman is the real deal.
Are we covering him on musicals with Terry?
I've got a 3-part series on Hugh Jackman. And that's what it's called, The Greatest Showman series.
Oh yeah,
and it's
we
with
talk
Hugh
about
Jackman.
Puzzles and so forth.
He did not agree to appear on the podcast.
Oh, he didn't?
Unfortunately.
Well, not yet. Yes.
That's a limiting belief. I won't have it on the show.
Yet.
Real jerk.
Now I am taking more notes. I love that I learn so much every day.
And once again, nothing to do with real estate.
Get the domain puzzleswithhughjackman.com.
Puzzles with Hugh.
Let's get to Todd's silly segment if we could. Producer Christian, I'd love to get to that.
Get on the train for Todd's silly segment.
All right.
I promised if you listened to our last episode, it got a little
much,
a little hairy.
Stop it.
I just made that up. I didn't even plan it.
Stop it.
Oh, there it is.
No, save it for the last episode. It's had enough.
I told you we would dial it down just a little bit, and I will do this. This is more of an emotional one. Okay, so join me on an emotional roller coaster.
Producer Christian, can
really
get some
just
emotional music? Okay,
this
go ahead.
roller coaster only goes one way and it's down. But so the segment, of course, as you know, is "Aren't you glad you're not a hairstylist?"
Oh,
okay. I was thinking,
what
can go wrong with hairstyle? Like what?
Seems simple enough.
Yeah,
you sit down in the chair, you get your hair cut.
What I didn't realize was, and this is not what this one's all about, but what I realized is that there's a lot of people just like the dentist that come in and there's not a great thing happening up here. Like there was a lot of talk about people that haven't washed for quite some time, the build up and the things that we found. So,
correct.
So I said, you know what? We're not going to follow the dentist story with that. We're going to mix it with this.
Sweaty child comes in for a haircut.
Yeah, the kid that's always moving.
You hate children.
It's you. Megan.
Do you want to? Well, let's see who we have audio of that's saying that they hate babies. I don't remember if we have someone.
Who was that?
Not me. It wasn't. I hate babies.
There it is. Yeah.
I think that was fake.
That's photoshopped. That clip was photoshopped.
Definitely. All right, so let's do a hairstylist story. So if this is basically a hairstylist shared this story, and a reminder for anybody that's just tuning in, these are stories that make us feel better about being real estate agents.
Right.
So here we go. I have been a hairdresser for about 8 years now, and this moment still haunts me. My client was a teenage girl with the most beautiful, thick and wavy red waist-length hair. Turns out she had been caught drinking beer with her friends. Okay. So her mother was making her cut and donate her hair as punishment.
Oh, wow.
The mother stayed by my side as her daughter cried hysterically the entire time.
Oh, my goodness.
She said, I tried to be kind and leave it as long as I possibly could, but the mother kept making a scene about cutting it shoulder length.
Oh, my
I've never felt so sorry or so uncomfortable in my entire career.
That's the saddest thing.
How sad is that?
Do you think that stylist could decide to be like, I am not doing it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I wondered, like,
I'm not
could you
gonna do
just
it.
say, I'm not, there's no
refuse
How
to
old
do
was
it.
she?
Oh, that's
Teenager.
so
Teenager?
awful.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That's traumatizing right there.
Yeah, no joke.
Wow.
Oof.
Gosh.
So,
And if that's the public punishment,
Right.
you got to wonder what this mom is like in everyday life.
Can we close the segment?
Let's close it. Yikes.
Get on the train for Todd's silly segment.
I did not care for where the train went.
So happy
that.
But I like the jingle is so happy. We're like, ooh, that was depressing. All right, let's get back into it. Let's talk about staff accountability, Megan, because
We're going to talk about season 4, how it's going, or not?
at the end, yeah. Staff accountability, I think this would be a concern for managers and broker owners who are like, am I going to get the same productivity if we don't have an office that these people are coming into? So let's talk about solutions around that. That's good.
I think this is something that everybody's talking about right now and will continue to talk about as we become more and more virtual with our workspaces and people are all over working. So here are a few things you can do to keep your staff accountable and keep things running well. One is timesheets. like, for instance, we use T-Sheets. You go online, you clock in, you clock out. There's an app. You can take time off. All of that is right there, runs the reports. But there's something about somebody having to fill out a timesheet that keeps you honest, keeps you accountable, and reminds you how much you're actually working, whether it's too much or too little, which is great. And then there's tracking involved as well. So that's a really good thing.
There's crazy tracking for that now. Like there's some like there has to be motion in front of your camera.
Whoa,
And,
really?
Yeah, and like if it doesn't see motion, it knows you're not in front of it.
Zoom has an attention thing where it will let the moderator know if the person's stepped out.
Not there.
Wow,
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Some of
I
these,
heard about that, and then I heard somebody who got like, what's the bird that like looks like it's dipping in the
that's
red
so
or something like that, and they'll put that in
Put it
front of the
there.
camera.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, it's amazing how much you think about, or you can overthink strategies to just get out of something.
Right,
It's weird.
yeah.
We could go down
You
that
work
rabbit
so
hole,
hard to
right?
not have to work.
Just like, God, you just work that hard in real life. But no, when we were figuring out which company to go with, there are some that they track your actual computer and if things are being done, and they take screenshots every once in a
they
while.
take screenshots and they compile them
Yep.
into like a movie that plays that shows what
So,
you were
like,
doing.
if you were on Facebook, that would pop up. So
Yeah.
it
I didn't
keeps
know any
people
of
from
this.
doing
They
stuff.
track
we
mouse.
didn't go that way.
They track
because
mouse
we
movements.
didn't
You know,
want
if you're moving the mouse.
Yeah,
That's-
isn't that wild? So you can be as loose or as
Or you
tight
could
as
hire
want,
people
so.
you trust.
Right.
You know, that's an
Right.
option.
That was
you
like,
believe in.
I don't think we need any
thinking outside the box.
geo-tracking for our
Wow.
stuff. Yeah, it's amazing. So timesheets, but there is just the basic. We say that for agents, like take your own time. Make sure that you're putting
Right.
down when you clock in and when you clock out, because it's very telling of what's going on. Sharing your task list, that's a really great way to do that. What do you have on the list? We use Google Drive a lot of times for an ongoing task list for our personal business and for the company. Something that just have some kind of list that you share so everybody knows what you're working on and what should be worked on next, which is nice. And then be project oriented instead of hourly oriented.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I just like that. So we've transitioned that. It's not true of every staff member that you
Right.
have, because some of them are hourly. You need you to do these tasks.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's some staff members that it's more about the large picture.
Yeah.
And it's more about
Yes.
saying, I don't really care when you work. I don't care how many hours you're putting in. I just need to make sure you're getting these projects done.
Yeah.
And if
It's
you're
the
doing
output.
that, that's really what matters to
Yep.
me.
Yes.
Which I think that a lot of people react. Some certain staff people would love that, because then they're like, you know what, I'm going to work really hard on this week, knock this thing out, and then that way I can be really light next week and take
Yes.
some extra time off or something like that.
Well, your personality, that just goes to somebody who likes a challenge. It's like, okay, here's the next task.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to the next, so it's a good way to do that. And then lastly, just check in on them. Just make sure that you are touching base, that they aren't on an island all by themselves.
Right.
Being
Yeah.
accountable, you can help out with that with your staff as well.
Yeah, and if you're going to have all these things in place, timesheets, shared task list, all that stuff, then you need to be accountable to those things, which means somebody needs to be checking those things to make sure that you're actually doing them.
Yeah, accountable to the accountability sheets. I
Nice.
love it. Okay, so Todd, let's talk about team and brokerage accountability. What that looks like.
The other side of it is, as a team or a brokerage, you're looking at it and saying, okay, agents, you need to do this. We're going to hold you accountable. And staff, you need to do these things. We're going to hold you accountable. But who's holding the accountability master accountable?
Yeah,
All right?
good one.
So you need to be accountable to yourself in that case. So, but one thing that we would say is that, and we do this, and it's not in agents. This would be, again, most of these things that we talk about from the brokerage perspective is reflective of what agents should be doing. So, for instance, brokerages should survey their agents, their staff, and ask the things, what are we doing well? What can we work on? And any suggestions on how we can improve? Sometimes it sucks to get those reviews that are like, you can improve here.
Yeah.
It stinks, but you know what? You hear it, and then it's constructive, and you say, you know what? You're right. I can. And that's the same thing. Agents, you should be doing that with your clients. Where can I improve? And then take it as constructive criticism and get better. All right, so make sure that you are doing that. Also, you could do just like agents do. We would challenge you to join mastermind groups. If you are starting a brokerage, there are other brokerages like you. If you are at the next level, if you are a huge brokerage, there are other brokerages like you. If you're a team, there are other teams like you. So why not join a Facebook group, join a peer group, and just talk about what you're dealing with? If you're running a podcast, maybe you should talk to some other podcasts like you.
Maybe you should talk about the thing that you're supposed to talk about sometimes.
Maybe.
If we surveyed our listeners, what would they ask for?
Yeah, we probably
Content.
should.
If you could just give us
just
some
a little bit
content.
more.
You could be helpful
Every once in a while.
some way. Just work it in. Just find ways to work it in.
Just something real estate related. That's all we're asking.
Maybe interview Hugh Jackman or
Yeah, just
It's really funny.
We're gonna get him.
we're gonna get him.
That's the goal.
I
That's
can't
the
wait.
goal.
It's not
be
if,
great.
it's when. fine.
That's right. I like it. And then lastly, second to lastly, continue.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Yep.
That's the right way to say that. That's the right way to say that.
Continue to train yourself, all right? And this, we're talking about the brokerages. You can always get better. Everybody can always get better, including companies. So companies, teams, brokers, make sure that you are continuing to train and finding better ways to get better and offer better services to your people, like your agents and your staff. And this can only be done if you're checking in on yourself and making sure that you are accountable to yourself. And if you don't, especially if you don't have somebody to be accountable to, but ideally you're finding that peer, somebody
maybe
that you
word of the day calendar for you.
You need, I want something I can tear off.
Something you can tear off.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great strategic note there. That's a good tech tip. That's a good tech tip. That's what that is. That's a tech tip.
Oh,
no, that's not the right one.
It's time for it.
There
It's
we
not
go.
really a tech. Is it tech tip? It's a tech tip.
Well, I think one time you passed around a pencil or so. Oh, you didn't even do that
Yeah,
live.
Say your
What?
line. You're
Oh, I
supposed
didn't.
to
I'm
sing
sorry.
at the end.
What a mistake.
Do we have to close the segment?
Yeah, let's
You
just
opened
close it
it.
up.
You opened it.
It's time for
That's
it.
right. We're not leaving all the segments open. We're not trying to segment the whole neighborhood.
It's a tech tip.
There we go. That's what I like. That's what I like. Okay, so let's go quick around the horn evaluation. Should we continue on with the season, or should this be the final
Are we
podcast?
doing some accountability right now?
Accountability for the podcast. I like that.
Man.
Who's in? I mean, let's just go count of 3, thumbs up or thumbs down. Let's do that. And
Okay.
if you're listening, sorry. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, we'll see what happens.
We're this far in.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was more,
it was
more sunk cost than we
It really is at this point. We're going to see this thing through. We're going to watch the rest of this bad movie.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. All right, we want to hear from you. info@boomrealestatepodcast.com. You can check out the Boom Circle as well at theboomcircle.com. If it's not open now, it's waitlist, so get on the waitlist. And we will see you next time as we continue on this miserable flight that is Season 4 of the Boom Real Estate Podcast. See ya.